name's Lucy.
Hello, my name's Fran,
And we're animators at the VFX Hub at Bournemouth University.
We've produced 3 short videos for the High Sheriff of Dorset and Dorset Criminal Justice Board's Coercive and Controlling Behaviour campaign that highlight 3 of the most common behaviours shown in domestic abuse relationships affecting 18 to 25-year-olds. These behaviours are tracking and monitoring of social media, isolation from friends and family, and coercive threats of suicide.
Our goals for the project were to make people aware of what coercive and controlling behaviour is through examples, and to encourage people to talk about it and take action in regards to abusive behaviour.
We spent about 2,000 hours on production using 7 different software packages to create 6 unique characters and 3 different environments for around 115 seconds of animation.
To explain to you how we've done this, we're going to quickly take you through the process of creating each video in terms of a pipeline, which is how the animation industry refers to their workflow. We're going to take you behind the scenes of each individual task to give you a greater insight into how the final films were created. To start the project, the first thing we begin with is research, a crucial part of the pre-production stage. We looked in depth at what domestic abuse is about and what the new legislation introduced in December 2015 means, before moving on to create mood boards of influences. Each character has their own colour to help distinguish them from the others and make them more memorable as an individual. Then, we write a script based on the research, and following approval from all stakeholders, we record the voice actors. At the same time as the script is being approved, we start designing the characters and begin storyboarding the action. We made the characters look like little dolls or puppets, so it's plausible that they have strings and could be controlled. They're also a little abstracted from our reality, as to try not to be emotionally damaging to anyone watching, while still conveying the subject matter. We chose to develop the characters from one base to save time on production, and also make the point that anyone could be a victim or abuser, that there's no visual mould of what a victim or abuser should look like.
Then we move on to modelling, which is making the shape of the characters or assets. This is the start of production. This is where you create everything and build it. I took the character designs and modified them to work in 3D by sculpting the model, much like you would a clay figure. We make everything with squares and pay special attention to a thing called topology, which is how the loops of the squares flow over the surface of the model, especially in regards to the face. This is important because it means the face looks more realistic, and things like the cheeks, mouth and eyes move properly in expressions. Next is rigging, which is putting a skeleton to the character's model. Think of it as a metal skeleton inside of a puppet, allowing it to control the character. We recreate all the joints of the human body digitally and make everything move, as if it has muscles inside of it, so it looks more realistic. We also use a thing called blend shapes for the face to make animation faster and more consistent. After that we have animation, which is essentially all of the movement in the video. We combine all of this with choosing the best camera angles and positions to tell the story. We block all the motion first to check the timings before sending it off to our composer. We then keep adding layers of detail into the motion and polishing the camera movements to make each shot easy to watch and make sure that it conveys the performance of each character effectively. We also add strings to the characters to show very clearly the power the abuser has over their victims.
At the same time as animation, we have texturing and shading, which give the character and environment models colour and surface details, such as wooden or metallic surfaces. I wanted it to look like you could reach out and touch the characters, like they really were people. So we used 4K textures on the characters and made the victims look handmade by using wood, and we used painted metal for the abusers to make them feel cold and hard. Once animation and texturing are complete, we light the scene. The abusers are lit specially so the eyes glint out of the shadows when they are the most menacing, to make them seem scary, whereas the victims are lit more softly and with less harsh shadows. In the films, there is always a theme around each character, and the lighting helps to represent the power the abuser has and their influence on the victim. Once all these stages are complete, we have rendering, which is where the computer generates an image of the scene with all the lighting and textures accurately applied onto the animation. We set up every object with its own ID and set the computer calculating the images overnight. At this stage of production, we're producing individual images, and inside every second are 25 individual images of animation. 1 second of animation takes around 20 hours to complete with all the previous stages, and around 3 hours to render. We ended up with a few fun glitches along the way, as it seems sometimes elements of the character were prone to not following the animation.
Next is compositing, which improves the final rendered sequences by adding or fixing small details, such as adjusting the colours. And here we enter post-production. This is polishing up everything and adding things like blurs for depth of field, lens distortion, and colour grades to make the film look more cinematic and coherent. Essentially, it's like Photoshop, but for film. We then move to editing, which is putting the composited sequences in order and making sure that the cuts between them work. Music is also added from an external composer and mixed with the voice acting and any other sounds. And when that's all finished, we give the animations to the marketing team to release the finished films to the public. Hopefully these examples help you to understand what constitutes coercive and controlling behaviour a little more and give you the insight to recognise it happening to you or a loved one.
Now we've made these films, we want you to use them. We would like you to share our message, talk about what you've heard, and spread it. A few words can save years of fear and abuse, and you may even end up saving a life. We hope you enjoyed our films, and thank you for watching.